After more than a decade of wandering outside, Su Chen, who was extremely eager for family affection, was brought back to the Su family. However, his parents and sisters had already given all their love to an adopted son who had taken over his life. No matter how much Su Chen tries to please him, he cannot change the prejudice and indifference of his family towards him. After experiencing life and death changes, Su Chen became clear-headed and gave up, resolutely severing ties with them. After the truth was revealed, both parents and sisters felt guilty and wanted to die, crying to seek forgiveness from Su Chen. Chapter 1. Never Be a Fool Again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sun is setting in the west. Longhua, the outskirts of Yunjiang City, in the mountains and forests. I regret it, I hate it. If given another chance, I would never try to please those people like a fool. Su Chen was sweating profusely like rain, his body covered in rolling soil, his clothes had been scraped to pieces, and his eyes were filled with despair, regret, and unwillingness. The ankle was bitten by a venomous snake, leaving 2 blood-red tooth marks, and a dark blue patch appeared around the wound. With a pale face like paper, Su Chen, who was in pain and unwillingness, pressed his hands tightly into the soil under his body and let out his last roar of anger. Eventually, he was powerless and collapsed in the mud, and his life was not long to come. Su Chen was originally the true young master of the Su family, but he was lost by the Su family after birth. When Su Chen was 19 years old, the Su family found him and brought him back to the Su family. But when he returned to the Su family, he realized that the whole family had already poured all their love into an adopted son who had taken over his life. The whole family only saw the fake young master in their eyes, but on the contrary, they despised Su Chen, the real young master who had returned. Su Chen, who had been longing for family and affection since childhood, tried every means to please the Su family, enduring various prejudices, disdains, and hatred from his parents and sisters. Even if he was falsely accused by his adopted son, Su Chen was still working hard to demonstrate and prove himself, safeguarding the feelings of his relatives, and willing to give everything for them. He once searched for a doctor and medicine for his sister, was beaten by a knife, and donated his bone marrow, hoping to receive recognition and care. As a result, he died with his eyes closed. At this moment, the Su family was busy preparing for their adopted son's birthday, but no one remembered that today was also Su Chen's birthday. In order to avoid making it difficult and disappointing for his family, Su Chen, who was feeling aggrieved and uncomfortable, left home and hid. However, he was accidentally bitten by a venomous snake and was about to be poisoned to death. Su Chen called his parents and sisters for help, but they were busy celebrating their adopted son's birthday and no one answered the phone at all. Watching his phone run out of battery and his right ankle pitch black, Su Chen collapsed to the ground, looking at the sky in despair. When he was on the brink of death, past events flashed through Su Chen's mind like slides. At this moment, Su Chen suddenly realized that no matter how hard he tried to please and how much he wronged himself, he could not change the attitude of the Su family towards him. The so-called blood relationship was just his wishful thinking. After stripping away his family ties, Su Chen felt that his claim by the Su family was like a conspiracy. Breaking the filter made some people's ugly faces clearer. On his deathbed, Su Chen woke up and finally saw through the faces of those people. Just as the snake venom erupted and Su Chen's consciousness was about to disappear, an elderly man wearing a white robe, with white hair and a fairy-like demeanor that resembled Su Chen's appearance appeared in front of Su Chen out of thin air. I unexpectedly met a younger generation with such a similar appearance to me when the deadline was approaching. This is fate's will. Looking at Su Chen, who was on the brink of death, the old man raised his hand and condensed a dazzling white ball of light. I will now give you everything I have in the mortal world, and you must help me fulfill my unfulfilled wish and not commit any crimes or harm justice, otherwise I will have my own way to deal with you. As soon as the words fell, the white ball of light began to merge with Su Chen's consciousness and body. Su Chen felt his lost vitality suddenly fill his body with strength, and at the same time, a large amount of mixed and unfamiliar knowledge and memories flooded into his mind. However, there were too many things to digest and absorb in a short period of time, which made his head extremely painful. After the integration of Lightball and Su Chen, the illusory figure of the old man flew towards the sky under the bombardment of lightning. Su Chen fainted and didn't wake up until the next day. Having experienced life and death, Su Chen was amazed and had many unfamiliar memories in his mind. Looking around, he found a purple gold-carved dragon ring and a letter beside him, which were items left by the mysterious old man. Everything was as unreal as a dream, but all of this was Su Chen's personal experience, and he couldn't help but believe it. Since you naively gave me another chance, I will never be a fool again. After calming down, Su Chen swore to heaven that he would completely change himself and work hard to fulfill the old man's wish in the future, then covered his head and returned to the Su family. In the lobby of the Su family villa, a group of people sat around the sofa drinking tea and chatting, laughing incessantly. Everyone gathered around a young man of the same age and temperament as Su Chen, dressed in suits and leather shoes. This young man was Su Jun, the adopted son of the Su family, and the male protagonist of yesterday's birthday party. When Su Chen entered, the joyful and warm atmosphere in the hall disappeared instantly, and everyone in the Su family frowned and stared at Su Chen with dissatisfaction. You still have the face to come back. Yesterday was Xiao Jun's birthday, but you reported to the fake police that you were going to die, so the police came to investigate early in the morning. A beautiful woman wearing a denim suit and dyed yellow hair rushed to Su Chen first and said, Su Chen, are you sincere in causing trouble and smearing black on the face of the Su family? The Su family just held a birthday party for Su Jun yesterday. They were investigated by the police early this morning, which not only caused embarrassment but also dampened their spirits. Therefore, when they saw Su Chen return, everyone in the Su family had a bad expression. The beauty who is pointing at Su Chen's nose is Su Shanjiu, the sixth elder sister. She is 23 years old. Because of her similar age, she has the best relationship with her adopted son Su Jun among the sisters. Su Shanjiu had a simple mind and a hot temper. He believed that Su Chen was intentionally reporting false alarms to disrupt Su Jun's happy birthday mood. Seeing Su Chen, he immediately exploded. Su Chen, you are simply not worthy of being part of the Su family by using such shameless methods to attract attention from the public. A beautiful woman wearing a white dress, with exquisite makeup and beautiful appearance, sitting on the sofa with her front protruding and back upturned, cross-legged in disgust and condemnation. This is Su Shanhua, the fourth sister, who is 24 years old. I stayed up all night, and you didn't care about my safety. Instead, you just put a hat on me when you walked in. You're really my good sister. Su Chen looked at Su Shanjiu and Su Shanhua and said, do you have any evidence to prove that I reported false alarms? Don't get too close here, I have never admitted that you are my younger brother. Su Shanjiu responded rudely and firmly said, from beginning to end, my younger brother was only Xiao Jun, and you are just an uneducated and despicable wild child. It's not surprising that you report false alarms. You reported to the police that you were bitten by a venomous snake and were about to die. Now that you have returned intact, it proves that you are lying. Su Shanhua put down his legs and said coldly, I guess this is your childish move to attract attention again. This kind of thing is too normal for you, a greedy, lascivious, and despicable person. Fourth sister is right. Upon hearing Su Shanhua's words, Su Shanjiu immediately agreed, you had a fight before, watched your second sister take a shower, stole family property, and even sexually assaulted. Chapter 2. Prejudice and Belief. Turns out to be self-harm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shut up. Before Su Shanjiu could finish speaking, Su Shanqin, wearing a mature and stable black professional suit with a strong aura, scolded expressionlessly, we must not reveal our family's shame. Don't keep talking about these embarrassing things. Su Shanjiu also realized that he had said the wrong thing and quickly shut up. No matter how hard you try, you can't report fake police and waste police force. Moreover, you haven't answered our phone calls, which is a bit excessive. As a mother, Wu Hui did not care about Su Chen's safety, but scolded him, "Don't be so stubborn in the future." "My phone ran out of battery and turned off." Su Chen responded casually, "I called each of you after being bitten by a snake, but no one answered my call." Wu Hui and the others suddenly fell silent. Last night, in order not to affect Su Jun's mood, they deliberately did not answer Su Chen's phone call. Do you know that reporting false alarms has violated the Public Security Administration regulations? At this moment, Su Chuanda, as the head of the family, spoke with a stern face and looked coldly at Su Chen, changing the topic. The Su family has always followed the law and will never shelter those who violate the law and discipline. Do you want me to take you to the government or do you want to surrender yourself? Xiao Chen, quickly apologize for your mistake. Upon hearing Su Chuanda's words, Wu Hui anxiously reminded and urged, "You are so good to admit your mistake, we will forgive you. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I apologize for my mistake?" Su Chen changed his previous attitude of being submissive to his family and actively apologizing and pleasing them when encountering problems, and firmly said, "I did report to the police, but I did not report to the fake police." Su Shanqin and others looked at Su Chen, who was abnormal, in surprise. "It's true that we don't shed tears until we see the coffin." After Su Shanjiu realized it, he sneered and said, "I support sending him to the court to have his memory preserved. I also support acting in accordance with the law. Only by subjecting him to the appropriate punishment can he change his bad habits of being a lowly person." Sister Su Shanqin also spoke leisurely, looking at Su Chen as if she was looking at a stranger. "Don't talk nonsense, I'm your younger brother." Upon hearing these words, Wu Hui became anxious and looked at Su Chuanda pleadingly, "Husband, let's forget about this time. We can't let Xiao Chen be detained." A kind-hearted mother often defeats her children, spoiling them leads to a fool. Su Chen is already an adult, and he must bear the consequences of his actions, otherwise he will only worsen. Su Chuanda glared at Wu Hui and said with a straight face, "If he doesn't realize his mistake, then he'll be sent to the office and let him squat for a few days to reflect on. I was just reported to the police and then you took me to the online platform." Faced with his family's attitude towards him, Su Chen sneered, "As an adopted son, when Su Jun blinded his classmate in one eye, you didn't say you had to act in accordance with the law, but instead took care of him from top to bottom. How could a small matter involving my biological son be dealt with in accordance with the law?" As soon as these words were spoken, Su Chuanda's face stiffened slightly and he frowned. With the energy of the Su family in Yunjiang City, they can even handle Su Jun's serious crime, so it is naturally easy to handle Su Chen's reporting false police. It's just that Su Chuanda and others don't want to protect Su Chen. To put it simply, they are biased. The master said that Xiao Jun is a destined koi and a lucky star of our Su family. You are not qualified to be compared to Xiao Jun. Just as the others were silent, Su Shanjiu jumped and shouted, "Besides, I was still young and immature at the time, and since you have grown up, you should be responsible for your actions." A group of eccentric eyes. Su Chen cursed and didn't bother to explain. He opened his right pants and said, "Then you can see clearly. Did I lie or not?" When the terrifying wound on Su Chen's ankle bitten by a snake was exposed, everyone in the Su family shut up. How did this happen? Wu Hui was the first to react and nervously ran to Su Chen to check, "And why are your clothes so dirty?" After Su Chen entered the door for so long, no one noticed that Su Chen's clothes were dirty and torn, indicating how indifferent this family was to Su Chen. Before Su Chen could respond, Su Shanjiu said in a strange yin-yang tone, "What's so remarkable about being bitten by a snake? You didn't die, it's a big fuss. People who don't like you will find you Catching no matter what you do. Even if Su Jun breaks his skin, it will make the Su family feel extremely distressed and fight fiercely. But now that they see Su Chen being bitten by a snake, they think it's a big deal, and even if it's a double standard, it's also strange. Miss Lu, does this mean that she really wants me to die? Faced with the strange aura of Su Shanjiu, Su Chen changed his previous stance and self-deprecatingly said, "That's right. If my own son of the Su family dies, then Su Jun, as the adopted son, will be the only son of the Su family, and then all of you will be as you wish." "That's right, it's best if you die." Su Shanjiu nodded without hesitation and said, "Anyway, in my heart, there's only one younger brother, Xiao Jun. Don't talk nonsense." Upon hearing Su Shanjiu's words, Su Shanqin immediately spoke up and scolded him. Although she didn't like Su Chen, who was stained with common customs, and preferred Su Jun more, Su Shanjiu's words of hoping that Su Chen would die were always excessive. "Xiao Jun and Xiao Chen are both my sons and your younger brothers. If you dare to talk nonsense again, be careful, I'll slap you." Wu Hui stepped forward and grabbed Su Chen's hand, glaring angrily at Su Shanjiu. She then looked at Su Chen with concern and said, "Xiao Chen, where did you go yesterday? How did you end up like this?" Brother Chen, I know you have objections to me, thinking that I have taken away your wealthy life and status, as well as the love of your parents and sisters." Just as Su Chen was about to respond, Su Jun, who had never spoken, suddenly stepped forward and said in pain, "But you can't hurt yourself in this way, it hurts me and my family. So you're playing self-harm to gain our sympathy." Su Shanjiu immediately glared at Su Chen and shouted, "You're too shameless." Su Shanqin's sisters suddenly understood, and then showed contempt and disgust. They all sniffed at Su Chen and firmly believed in Su Jun's words. Seeing Su Jun casually say something, the sisters firmly believed it. Su Chen felt helpless and self-deprecating. "I used to lick these brainless guys when my head was kicked by a donkey. I guess Su Jun said that the cake is fragrant, and they all have to take a few bites. It's disgusting." Su Chen is accustomed to being falsely accused by Su Jun. Even if there is no evidence, the Su family has absolute trust in Su Jun. Su Chen used to argue vigorously every time, but in the end, whether or not he could prove his innocence would only deepen the opinions and disgust of the Su family towards him. Even if Su Chen proves his innocence, Su Jun only needs to shed a few tears and pretend to admit his mistake. The people of the Su family will forgive Su Jun, but instead blame Su Chen for being cautious and loving him more seriously. For example, now Su Chen has proven that he was really bitten by a snake and did not report to the fake police, but these people still have objections to him. In the face of prejudice and targeting, everything you do is wrong. Chapter 3 is actually a close relative face. Everything makes sense. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Xiao Chen, how could you hurt yourself casually?" Wu Huijin, who was holding Su Chen's hand, also spoke up, with a face full of heartache and dissatisfaction. "If you have something to say in the future, don't be so irrational." As a mother, Wu Hui appeared to be concerned, but it can be said that she also believed that Su Chen was self-harming and believed Su Jun's words without any evidence. "Brother Chen, it's me who apologize to you. I've always wanted to make up for it and remind everyone to treat us equally." Su Jun interrupted Su Chen again, his eyes red, and he said with guilt and determination, "If you have any resentment, then I can leave the Su family and return your parents and sisters to you. Good son, don't daydream. Mom won't let you leave." As soon as she spoke, Wu Hui didn't hesitate to let go of Su Chen's hand and nervously stepped forward to grab Su Jun's arm. The Su family's sisters also surrounded Su Jun and comforted him in whispers. Su Shanjiu even glared at Su Chen angrily. "It's that again. It's really his mother, disgusting." Looking at Su Jun, who instantly drew everyone's attention to him, Su Chen secretly despised him, and at the same time, he realized more clearly that his family, whom he once cared about so much, had not even taken him to heart. Su Chen, who was bitten by a snake, is far less in need of comfort and care than Su Jun, who has red circles in his eyes. Even his favoritism is biased towards heaven. Since Su Chen has returned, that's all for now. I will explain the situation to the police. After seeing that the situation was under Su Jun's control, Su Chen unquestionably said, "Let's tidy up and prepare for lunch." Wu Hui and others comforted Su Jun while heading to the restaurant, once again ignoring Su Chen's presence. As before, whenever Su Chen wanted to attract the attention of his family, Su Jun only needed a slight gesture to press Su Chen to the ground and rub him. In the past, Su Chen would be very sad and insecure about such things, but now he has awakened, seen through it, and no longer cares, calmly returning to his room. Su Chen stood in a rudimentary single room under the stairs, with a bed, a desk filled with books, and a simple hanger hanging with a few washed yellowed clothes. The treatment of the young master of the Su family in the Su family is not even as good as that of a servant, it is too unreasonable. Since we have regained our vitality and seen through everything, let's decisively give up these unrealistic things. Su Chen changed his clothes, tidied up his things, took out a pen and paper, and wrote 2 agreements. After finishing writing, Su Chen looked up and saw a family portrait prominently placed on the table. This is the only family portrait of Su Chen in the Su family, but Su Chen's gaze fell on Su Jun and Su Chen. At this moment, Su Chen's head slightly pricked, and some knowledge about physiognomy came to mind. Su Jun and Su Chen are actually close relatives in appearance. They are either biological father and son or brothers. Rubbing his swollen and painful head, Su Chen widened his eyes in surprise and said, "It turns out that his adopted son is actually his own son, so everything makes sense. It's ridiculous that my biological mother and sisters were sold and helped out for money. It's really interesting." After the headache subsided, Su Chen tore off his own part of the family portrait, shredded it, and threw it into the trash can before turning around and leaving. When Su Chen came downstairs with his bag on his back, the Su family had already gathered around the table filled with food and started eating. Su Chen is accustomed to this, and in recent years, no one in the Su family has ever taken the initiative to call him when they have meals. "I'm really a bit hungry. Let's eat until we're full." Su Chen touched his stomach and walked towards the restaurant. "Humph, I don't even know I'm coming over to eat. Do you still want someone to call you?" As soon as Su Chen entered the restaurant, Su Chen let out a stern and dissatisfied snort. Su Chen, who had not eaten for a long time, ignored Su Chen and placed his backpack next to an empty chair. He sat down directly, picked up the dishes, and began to sweep the food on the table in a whirlwind. It looked like how delicious it was. Faced with Su Chen's actions, everyone at the table of the Su family was a bit confused. After returning to the Su family, Su Chen has always been submissive, being cautious and trying his best to please them. Before, when eating without permission, Su Chen dared not move his chopsticks and would only eat the 2 dishes in front of him. Nowadays, Su Chen not only ignored Su Chen's words, but also disregarded others' reckless eating and drinking, which was too abnormal. "How unreasonable, my father is talking to you." Seeing that Su Chen dared to ignore Su Chen, Su Shanjiu reacted and scolded, "How did you manage to treat our dad's words as farting?" As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the Su family looked silently at Su Shanjiu. This girl had a big chest and no brain, daring to say anything, and invisibly even insulted Su Chen. "If you think someone was farting just now, then it's the first time I've seen someone farting with their mouth. I've gained a lot of knowledge." Su Chen, who was full of food, joked while eating without lifting his head. "You." Su Shanjiu's face changed slightly and he quickly looked at Su Chen, saying, "Dad, I didn't mean that. I was trying to make amends for you." Eating without proper manners, vulgar, without any personal education, not even 1/10 of Xiaojuan's. Knowing that Su Shanjiu was brainless, Su Chuanda didn't blame him either. He looked at Su Chen with disgust and said, "Indeed, he is a wild child who has not been raised since childhood. He has the bad habits of being a lowly person and can't make a name for himself. Mr. Su, don't you know that you are so cultured and don't speak when eating or sleeping?" Su Chen swallowed the food in his mouth, looked up at Su Chuanda, and asked back seriously. The Su family members were immediately shocked. In the past, when faced with scolding and preaching from anyone in the Su family, Su Chen dared not talk back, and in front of Su Chuanda, he dared not even breathe heavily. However, today it seems like he has taken gunpowder. Catching and scolding anyone is too crazy. "I'm your dad, you uneducated bastard who dares to confront me." Being confronted by Su Chen in front of everyone, Su Chuanda suddenly became furious and cursed with a gloomy expression on his face. "I grew up in an orphanage and it's a miracle that I survived until now without going astray. It's strange to have a good upbringing." Su Chen glanced at Su Chuanda and continued to eat while sneering, "Besides, since I don't teach my father, you should first see if you are a qualified father and then teach me a lesson." Su Chen is not without temper, on the contrary, an orphan who eats from all walks of life, is independent and can go to college. If he had no blood, he would have been bullied to death long ago. However, Su Chen used to care too much about the feelings and opinions of these relatives, which led him to endure and be at the mercy of others. Now that he doesn't want to please anyone anymore, he doesn't need to endure anymore. "You." Su Chuanda was scolded to the point of being speechless. "My husband, calm down. I have suffered so much outside these years, and it has become very difficult for me to grow hard." Wu Hui first calmed Su Chuanda's emotions, but then looked at Su Chen discontentedly and said, "Xiao Chen, no matter what, you can't contradict your elders. Please apologize to your father for making a mistake." "Ms. Wu, may I ask where I went wrong?" Su Chen asked with great interest. "I was lost by you since I was born. I grew up in an orphanage, and you used all the education and resources that should have belonged to me to cultivate Su Jun. Now Mr. Su is still talking about education with me, comparing me with Su Jun. It's too unfair." Chapter 4. Your bowl of water is really flat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Faced with Su Chen's questioning, Wu Hui moved her lips but was speechless. Ultimately, everything that Su Chen went through was the fault of being a parent. "Su Chen, you don't even address your parents now." Seeing Su Chen being so rude to her parents, Su Shanqin, as the eldest daughter, couldn't bear to watch any more and scolded, "What do you want to do, rebel? We have informed you in advance that we did not overlook your attendance at yesterday's Xiaojuan's birthday party." Su Shanqin looked at Su Chen expressionlessly and said, "It was you who went missing and got bitten by a snake. When you came back, you put on a face and got angry. Who are you showing it to? Miss Su, it's a bit excessive for your family to be busy celebrating an adopted son's birthday and have my own son come to support him, isn't it?" Faced with Su Shanqin's rebuke, Su Chen retorted without lifting his head. "This is your mistake." Wu Hui frowned slightly and declared solemnly, "What kind of biological son to raise a son? There's no need for a family to be so clear about it. I treat you and Xiaojun equally." Pushi. Upon hearing these words, Su Chen burst into laughter and sneered inwardly, "It's amazing that this foolish woman treats the son of the mistress so favorably and ignores her own flesh and blood. How will she feel when she finds out the truth in the future?" "What are you laughing at?" Wu Hui asked with some displeasure. "Ms. Wu, it's really funny that you personally organized a big celebration for my adopted son's birthday but didn't remember yesterday was also my own son's birthday." Su Chen spoke slowly, looked up slowly, and looked at Wu Hui with disappointment in his eyes. "Your bowl of water is really flat." Upon hearing these words, except for the heartless Su Shanjiu, everyone else's scalp tingled. It was only then that they realized that Su Chen and Su Jun had the same birthday, and they had all forgotten about it. I have been back to the Su family for 3 years, have you ever celebrated my birthday once? Su Chen continued, you never realize that every time Su Jun's birthday is celebrated, I'm not at home, right? Su Chen was very sad about this unfair treatment, but in order not to disappoint, he would hide every birthday, and the Su family had never noticed this, which shows how low Su Chen's presence in the Su family is. If it weren't for yesterday's accident, the police would have contacted the Su family, and it is estimated that these people would not have been able to detect them by now. Ultimately, the root cause of Su Chen's exile in the barren mountains and being bitten by snakes is still the Su family. I'm sorry, it was my mother's negligence. I promise to celebrate your birthday with Xiaojun every year in the future. Wu Hui's eyes turned red, and she apologized with a guilty expression on her face, making a promise to Su Chen. Even now, she had never thought of letting go of Su Jun. Su Chuanda moved his lips, hesitating to speak. His face softened slightly, but ultimately he felt guilty in his heart. There's no need to apologize, and you don't have to remember these things in the future, because there's no future between us. Su Chen waved his hand and prepared to clear the line with the Su family after finishing this meal. How would we know your birthday if you didn't say it yourself? Seeing that both parents were being manipulated by Su Chen, Su Shanjiu sarcastically said, besides, as an uneducated newcomer who has been living in the lower echelons of society since childhood, what qualifications do you have to compete with me? Xiaojun is a destined koi, one of the most talented young men in Yinjiang City. He has now held important positions in the family business, but you are a despicable, lascivious and shameless person. Wow! Before Su Shanjiu could finish speaking, Su Chen slammed his chopsticks onto the table and said coldly, since I don't intend to endure it anymore, let's make it clear today. Seeing Su Chen suddenly become so irritable, everyone in the Su family was once again shocked and looked at Su Chen with ghostly eyes. Su Juan, who had been silent all along, furrowed his brows, and Su Chen, whose temperament had changed greatly, gave him an inexplicable sense of crisis. Su Chuanda, on the other hand, was furious and shouted, damn it, who gave you the courage to throw and beat at the dining table? Sushan liquor and you. Su Chen ignored Su Chuanda again and swept around the people present, saying, I have despicable conduct and shameless lust. Please provide evidence. How unreasonable, he ignored me again. Su Chuanda's face turned red as he pointed at Su Chen, who was about to go berserk and lose his authority as the head of the family and father. Calm down, calm down. Wu Hui quickly held Su Chuanda down and dissuaded him, saying, I have suffered such a great injustice, so let him vent it. You must have stolen the things that our sisters lost. Su Shanjiu looked at Su Chen with disgust and said firmly, you should have sold those things for money or given them to your equally inferior girlfriend. You are a thief. Do you have any evidence that I stole something? Su Chen asked without hesitation. The fact is, there is no need for evidence. Xiaojun is not short of money. We will give him whatever he wants, and he never uses it to steal. Only you will do these sneaky things. Su Shanjiu sneered and asked the others, are you right? Miss Su, do you also think so? Su Chen looked at the sisters with great interest. Su Shanqin, Su Shanqi, and Su Shanhua remained silent and have accepted the accusation of Su Shanjiu. I don't have it. The fifth sister Su Shancher, who remained silent all along, suddenly spoke with some difficulty and said in a weak voice, I have low material desires and have never bought luxury goods. Moreover, I have been working from home and won't lose anything. Su Shancher and Su Shanjiu are twins who are both 23 years old this year. Due to malnutrition during pregnancy, Su Shancher has been weak and sickly since childhood. A few years ago, she almost died of acute leukemia and has an introverted personality. She is not good at speaking. Due to physical and personality reasons, Su Chen stayed at home after graduation to write novels. I didn't expect Su Chen, the fifth sister who had never spoken to me, to speak up at such a time. Although she didn't lean towards herself, she was still fair and just. Su Chen secretly felt relieved. It's not in vain that I donated bone marrow to her before. Although she didn't speak for me, being able to uphold fairness is far stronger than others by 100 times. It seems that Miss 2, and Miss 4 also believe that I am a thief. No matter how I explain it, it is meaningless. Su Chen withdrew his gaze and said calmly, since that's the case, let's call the police. When Su Chen was wrongly accused before, he always tried to defend himself and prove his innocence. In the face of prejudice, any explanation is meaningless, and then he falls into the dilemma of proving himself futile, making himself even more embarrassed and ridiculous. Cannot alarm. Wu Hui exclaimed excitedly, our house doesn't need that little thing. If it's lost, it's lost. There's no need to report it to the police. Wu Hui also believed that it was Su Chen who stole the item. She was worried that after reporting to the police, Su Chen would be arrested and sent to prison for the huge amount of stolen goods. Once the police report it, the scandal of domestic thieves will bring shame to the Su family. Su Chen stared at Su Chen with an unpleasant expression and said, are you trying to embarrass my Su family? Chapter 5. You said who is a wild seed, but that's my son. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing that he was going to report to the police, Su Jun, who was silent, had a slight jump in his eyelids. His hand under the table unconsciously clenched into a fist. He had stolen those things, not because he lacked money, but purely to smear Su Chen. In the years since Su Chen returned, Su Jun has made such small moves, which has made the Su family so disrespectful to Su Chen. If you deliberately say this, you are assuming that your parents cannot agree to report to the police. Su Shanjiu looked disdainfully at Su Chen and said, who else in the Su family can steal things besides you? Can it be that it was still the little gentleman who stole it? Before there is conclusive evidence, anyone could be a suspect. Su Chen raised his hand and pointed to Su Shanjiu, it could be you shouting to catch a thief, or it could be Miss Su or Miss Su Air. As he spoke, Su Chen suddenly pointed to Su Jun and said, of course, it could also be him. It's not me. Faced with Su Chen's sudden accusations, Su Jun was in chaos and immediately waved his hand, saying, I don't lack anything. How could I possibly steal something? Su Shanqin and Su Shanqi looked at Su Jun in confusion, but Su Jun's reaction was not quite right. Brother Chen, I know you have prejudice against me and don't like me, but you can't wrongly accuse me. Realizing that he had lost his composure, Su Jun's face immediately showed a hint of grievance and stubbornness, with red eyes and a pitiful expression, saying, if I can make you and everyone happy, then I can leave the Su family and move out. That expression, that demeanor, that instant blush in the eyes, and the tears that were about to flow but didn't fall, it was unimaginable. Even some well-known actors may not be able to perform as well as Su Jun, but the people of the Su family just fall for this trick, and the previous Su Chen had no way of using Su Jun's technique. A good son is not allowed to talk nonsense. Wu Hui immediately hugged Su Jun and comforted him with heartache, no matter when, you are my son, and no one can change it. You can't leave this home, Mom can't leave you. Su Chuanda and the Su family sisters were also angry when they saw that Su Jun had been wronged by Su Chen. Su Chen didn't give these people a chance to speak up. He looked at Su Jun with a smile and said, a man of all trades. Since you said you want to leave the Su family, you can move out. It's best to disappear from my sight today. Everyone thought that Su Chen would plead with Su Jun and apologize for his mistake, just like before, but they didn't expect Su Chen to not follow the routine this time. Previously, Su Chen was helpless in the face of Su Jun's performance because he cared too much about the feelings of these relatives, but now he doesn't care about anything, so naturally he doesn't accept this kind of approach. Be reckless. Su Chen slammed the table and roared, who gave you the courage to drive away Xiao Jun? Xiao Chen, how could you treat Xiao Jun like this? He's your younger brother. Zhao Wei lamented, if it weren't for Xiao Jun being by my side before you came back, I would have gone crazy long ago. How could you not tolerate him? Xiao Jun left the Su family without any support, how can you let him live? It's not that I can't tolerate him, but that he can't tolerate me. Su Chen said expressionlessly, as an orphan without a father or mother, I was able to grow up from childhood to adulthood. He is now 20.2 years old and still the young talent you call him. Leaving the Su family will definitely lead a better life than I did back then. Don't mention those things about Chen Sesame and rotten millet. It's not our fault for you to stay out. It's not his fault that Xiao Jun became the son of the Su family. No one is sorry for you. If you're back now, please give me some peace. Su Chen's face turned cold and he shouted arrogantly, if you keep talking nonsense, then stop eating this meal and get out of here immediately. Faced with Su Chen's anger, Wu Hui and several daughters were frightened. So, it seems like it's all my fault. Su Chen was not afraid at all. He squinted his eyes and pointed to Su Jun, who was being held in Wu Hui's arms, asking, Mr. Su, I'll ask you, who is your biological son between me and him? Su Chen noticed that Su Chen's eyebrows trembled uncontrollably twice when he heard these words and he did not respond immediately. Su Chen immediately confirmed his guess in his heart. Although this is a powerful rumor, there is no substantial evidence, and no one will believe Su Chen's statement. Instead, it will be deemed as spreading rumors and causing trouble. Moreover, Su Chen has completely severed ties with the Su family, and he is too lazy to delve deeper. The truth has nothing to do with him. Xiao Chen, don't do this. When Su Chen lost consciousness, Wu Hui comforted and said, you are all my children, there is no need to distinguish so clearly. If you really want to take it seriously, you have only returned to the Su family for 3 years, and Xiao Jun has lived in this family for more than 20 years. I only recognize Xiao Jun as my younger brother. Su Shanjiu spoke in disgust and said, besides, I'm so excellent in you. You should also leave. Su Shanqin and others remained silent, clearly unhappy with Su Chen and unwilling to let Su Jun leave the Su family. I'll go back and pack my things now, and leave the Su family today. Just as the scene was suffocating, Su Jun broke free from Wu Hui's embrace and wiped away his tears, saying, I just hope you don't argue with your parents and sisters anymore. I have taken over your life, I am sorry for you. I should have returned it to you. I have grown up now and can live independently. Let me go. You sit down for me. I'm not dead yet, the Su family doesn't have anyone else to decide. Su Chen pushed Su Jun back into his chair and stared coldly at Su Chen. What I said was just angry words, don't take it to heart. Wu Hui comforted Su Jun with heartache and looked up at Su Chen, lamenting, what exactly do you want to do? He just wants to drive away Xiao Jun, it's too malicious. Su Shan glared angrily at Su Chen, while the other sisters were all disgusted and angry. Then let's not make any fuss. Su Chen suddenly smiled and looked at Su Chen and Wu Hui word by word, saying, today, either Su Jun, the adopted wild seed, will leave the Su family, or my own son will sever ties with the Su family. Can you choose for yourselves? You said who is a wild seed, but that's my son. Upon hearing Su Chen's words, Su Chen suddenly exploded and grabbed the rice bowl in front of him, fiercely smashing it at Su Chen's doorstep. With a crisp bang, the porcelain bowl hit Su Chen's forehead and shattered on the spot. For a moment, blood splattered down Su Chen's forehead. No one expected Su Chen to suddenly give Su Chen such a heavy hand. The porcelain bowl was shattered. If it hit Su Chen in the eye, it would definitely blind him and leave him permanently disabled. It's so cruel. Several women were frightened and their faces turned pale, feeling at a loss. Husband, how could you be so cruel to me? Wu Hui burst into tears, anxiously complaining and shouting, Su Chen, how are you? Call 120 quickly. At this moment, Wu Hui felt Su Jun trembling in her arms, grabbing her clothes tightly and quickly bowing her head to comfort her. Don't be afraid, son, don't be afraid. Hurry up, call 120. Su Shanqin and others reacted and panicked, calling out. Su Chuanda also regretted his impulse. It was Su Chen's wild seed that was too heartwarming, but before he could express his opinion, Su Chen completely exploded. You don't need to be hypocritical here. Su Chuanda, you did it first. Su Chen endured the pain and ignored the wound on his forehead, allowing blood to slide down. His eyes flickered with cold light as he looked at Su Chuanda and slowly stood up. Chapter 6. Come back to me, isn't it because of my bone marrow? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It hurts, it hurts. But Su Chen felt that the pain of his forehead injury at this moment was nothing compared to the pain of snake venom in his previous body and the despair and coldness of seeing through the true faces of these relatives. The pain caused by his biological father actually made him more conscious. Faced with Su Chen, whose face was covered in blood and had no stress response to pain, Su Chuanda felt a bit panicked. But Su Chuanda did not apologize or show concern, but pretended to be calm and loudly questioned, what do you want to do? Su Chen's eyes were cold, his anger was surging, and his terrifying expression with blood on his face intimidated everyone present. I originally wanted to finish this meal before showcasing. Su Chen stood up, put his hands on the edge of the table and said coldly, I can't eat this now, so don't eat it. His mother. As soon as the words fell, Su Chen forcefully flipped the dining table with both hands. Wow! Ah! Accompanied by dishes and dishes, soup and water scattered, and the people sitting around the dining table exclaimed as they stood up and dodged backwards. Mom, be careful. Su Jun immediately protected Wu Hui, who had crashed into a chair due to panic and fell to the ground, using her body as a meat cushion to prevent her from falling to the floor. In the eyes of everyone, Su Jun was a filial child who sacrificed his life to save his mother, 100 times stronger than Su Chen, which made them even more dissatisfied with Su Chen. Flipping over the table where my parents were eating, what a normal person can do at this time is simply outrageous, lacking in character and upbringing. Bastard, do you want to rebel? Su Chuanda, who was also splattered with food, reacted and took a step forward, raising his hand to teach the unfilial son a lesson. What if I rebel? Su Chen raised his head slightly, squinted his eyes covered in blood, and stared coldly at Su Chuanda. Just now, that was just a way to repay your kindness. I don't mind, but can you try moving me again? You. Faced with Su Chen's seemingly cannibalistic gaze, Su Chuanda was really scared and his right hand froze in the air, afraid to fall. Everyone present noticed that Su Chen's temperament had changed greatly today, which was too abnormal. In the past few years when Su Chen returned to the Su family, he has been extremely flattering and pleasing to everyone, being cautious and afraid of offending everyone. No matter who gets angry, Su Chen will apologize and seek forgiveness as soon as possible. Faced with his parents, Su Chen was extremely respectful and gentle, and now he has not only become so bloodthirsty, but also dares to call his father's name directly, and even lifts the table in public, which is too abnormal. Crazy, crazy, he's crazy. Su Shanjiu painfully checked whether Su Jun was injured while staring at Su Chen in anger. This is your nature, and all your previous behavior at home was just a facade, right? While tidying up Wu Hui's clothes, Su Shanqin coldly said, your actions almost hurt your mother. It shows that you are just a ruthless person. I'm fine, don't say that to me, Xiaochen. Wu Hui spoke up with an unpleasant expression, but her gaze towards Su Chen was also filled with anger and dissatisfaction. The matter has come to this point, talking nonsense is meaningless. Su Chen raised his hand to wipe the blood off his face and took out the prepared agreement from his bag. Since you all only love that adopted son, I won't use my hot face to stick my cold buttocks anymore. This is the severance agreement. Su Chen took 2 steps back and placed the agreement on the chair behind him. If I sign this, I will sever ties with all the members of the Su family. From then on, I will have no further relationship with you. Do you want to sever ties? Wu Hui's face changed greatly, ignoring her dissatisfaction and anger towards Su Chen, and she shouted, "Are you not wanting a mother anymore?" "No, I would never agree to such a thing." Wu Hui finally let go of Su Jun's hand and anxiously approached, crying, "Our mother and son were separated for 19 years, and finally reunited. Do you think it's interesting to play such children's tricks in front of me?" Su Chuanda reached out to stop Wu Hui and said, "The Su family is a wealthy family in Yunjiang City, with assets worth billions. No matter how useless you are, you will still be able to obtain a wealth that ordinary people cannot achieve for a lifetime. Are you willing to give up? I have never coveted the Su family's industry. What I value is only family and affection." Su Chen looked at Su Chuanda sarcastically and said, "Since you think I came for the money of the Su family, then coincidentally, after signing this agreement, everything about the Su family has nothing to do with me anymore. Are you really here?" Su Shanqin looked at Su Chen with a furrowed brow and said, "I'm planning to let you intern at Su Group in a while. After you graduate, you can directly become a full-time employee. Do you know how many people dream of this opportunity? I don't mind." Su Chen gave Su Shanqin a glance and his gaze fell on Su Jun. "If you don't want to sign this agreement, then drive Su Jun out. In short, the Su family has me but not him, he has me but not me. You dream." Su Shanjiu screamed and gritted his teeth, saying, "After all, he just wants to drive away Xiao Jun. Since that's the case, I support cutting off ties with him. Anyway, I have never considered him a family. Enough is enough. The relationship between Xiao Jun and us for over 20 years cannot be replaced by you. The blood relationship between you and us cannot replace the sibling relationship between Xiao Jun and us. Moreover, you and Xiao Jun are not on the same level of existence at all. Xiao Jun is thousands of times better than you. If you insist on doing so, it is just a matter of self-humiliation." Except for Su Shancher, who lowered her head and remained silent due to her personality, others also expressed their opinions. "Xiao Chen, why are you doing this?" Wu Hui wept while lamenting, "Xiao Jun is your younger brother. You have been living outside for these years, relying solely on Xiao Jun to accompany me. If you want to drive Xiao Jun away, wouldn't it take your mother's life? Until now, these people still think that Su Chen is playing a trick and trying to force Su Jun to leave, but in their hearts, Su Chen has no right to be compared to Su Jun. Then there's nothing to say." Su Chen was too lazy to talk nonsense. He picked up his pen, signed his name on the agreement, and then handed it to Su Chuanda, saying, "Sign it, I'll leave. You continue to love each other, everyone is happy. Husband, you can't sign." Wu Hui exclaimed excitedly, "Xiao Chen, why are you forcing Mom like this? You only feel that we don't love you, but you can't see our efforts, nor can you see that Xiao Jun receives more love because he is better than you. You will only blame yourself and willingly fall." Su Chuanda didn't answer the agreement and said with a gloomy expression, "If we don't love you, why do we have to look for you for so many years? If we don't love you, why do the Su family hold a return banquet for you and make your membership of the Su family public? If the Su family came back to me, isn't it because they need someone to donate bone marrow to Miss Su Wu?" Su Chen impatiently interrupted Su Chuanda's words and mocked, "As for the so-called return banquet and announcement, it's just a means for you to make me willingly sacrifice myself to be a fool." As soon as these words were spoken, Su Shancher's face changed greatly. "What bone marrow?" Wu Hui and others were full of doubts. This is a secret that only Su Chen and Su Chuanda know. Chapter 7. Breaking off relationships. A subtle reminder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the past few years, Su Chen has been trying his best to please and flatter the Su family because they not only held a return banquet for him but also made public announcements, allowing him to feel warmth and care for a period of time. Although his sisters didn't have a good impression of him at the time, Su Chen and Wu Hui, as parents, had a commendable attitude towards him. Afterwards, Su Chen informed Su Chen about his fifth sister Su Shancher's acute leukemia and the need for a close relative's bone marrow to save her life. At that time, immersed in the joy of reuniting with his family, Su Chen did not even think about it before doing a bone marrow pairing and donating bone marrow to Su Shancher. In order to take care of his family and Su Shancher's feelings, he also promised Su Chen to conceal this secret. However, due to the inherent prejudice and arrogance of the Su family, Su Chen's position and situation in the Su family plummeted under the influence of Su Jun's secret manipulation. Under the influence of his family and his own pua, Su Chen thought it was because he didn't do well enough, and then he flattered and tried his best, but the result was until he was on the brink of death earlier, Su Chen realized that he was the tool that Su Chen had found to donate bone marrow to Su Shancher. From the beginning, this was a conspiracy. It makes sense for Su Chen's unusual behavior of bringing Su Chen back, even though he has already rehabilitated his illegitimate son Su Jun. Here, is it you who donated bone marrow? Su Shancher, with a pale face, suddenly stood up and stared excitedly at Su Chen. Yes. After hesitating for a moment, Su Chen nodded and said, Mr. Su said he was worried about your guilt and self-blame, which would harm his physical and mental health, so he asked me to keep this secret. How could it be? Why don't you? Ah. Due to being too excited and not good at speaking, Su Shancher stuttered and didn't finish speaking. She covered her chest with both hands and blushed, fainting. Xiao Wu. Good poetry. Fifth sister. Wu Hui, Su Jun and Su's sisters suddenly became a mess and nervously surrounded Su Shancher. Su Chen looked at Su Shancher with concern, and his mind showed that Su Shancher had only fainted without any serious symptoms before he breathed a sigh of relief. He did not want Su Shancher to have an accident. Damn it, you promised me you wouldn't tell anyone about this. Su Chen looked at Su Chen with a gloomy expression and said, if there are any major shortcomings in good poetry, can your conscience be at ease? I have sacrificed so much for Miss Su Wu, and neither you nor the entire Su family treat me like a person. Do you deserve to talk to me about my conscience? Su Chen didn't hesitate to ask back and sneered, besides, I have decided to sever ties with you, so why bother with her life or death? Why didn't you tell us about such an important matter? Wu Hui, whose face was already covered in tears, exclaimed with guilt. Su Shanqin and others also looked at Su Chen with complex expressions. If they had known about this, they should have been better and more tolerant towards Su Chen. Because Mr. Su doesn't let me speak. Su Chen pursed his lips and shook the agreement in his hand, but now that you know, are you planning to sever ties with me or let Su Jun leave the Su family? Faced with Su Chen's inquiry, Wu Hui and others instantly fell silent. Even if they knew that Su Chen had donated bone marrow to Su Shancher, they could not give up Su Jun for Su Chen's sake. Brother Chen, don't make things difficult or force everyone. Su Jun took a step forward and said firmly, you are the true young master of the Su family, and you have sacrificed so much for Sister Wu. As an outsider, I am not worthy to stay in the Su family. I will pack my things and leave now. As soon as Su Jun finished speaking, he wiped away his tears and walked towards the staircase. If you want to leave, I'll also leave the Su family. Su Shanjiu immediately grabbed Su Jun's arm and made a firm statement. As the eldest sister, I thank you for saving Xiao Wu. Su Shanqin stood up and softened her tone. I can give you some money as a reward, so don't make any more fuss. I can't agree to let Xiao Jun leave the Su family. We already know what you have done for Xiao Wu, and we will treat you well in the future. As a doctor, Su Shanqi took care of Su Shancher and spoke up to mediate, as long as you change your ways in the future and abide by your principles, then we will still be a family. What's going on at home? Su Shanhua shouted impatiently, let's call it a day. From now on, we will try to treat you and Xiaojun equally. Upon hearing these words, Su Chen shook his head in self-deprecation. Indeed, no matter what he had done for these people, he could not shake Su Jun's position. It was really boring. Tear up this agreement now, I can treat it as if nothing has happened. Su Chuanda took a deep breath and looked coldly at Su Chen, otherwise, don't blame me for disregarding my bloodline. There's so much nonsense. Su Chen impatiently urged, Mr. Su, you are at least the head of the family. Can you stop dragging around like this? Please sign the agreement quickly and be lenient in the future. Satisfy you, I'll pretend I never gave birth to your son. Su Chuanda stopped talking nonsense and lowered his head to sign, while coldly saying, Su Chen, leaving the Su family will be the biggest mistake of your life, and you will definitely regret it. Returning to the Su family and having expectations for so-called loved ones is the biggest mistake of my life. Taking over the signed agreement, Su Chen smiled and said he no longer had to lick this family. I can't do this, it's not right. The person who should leave is me, I'm leaving now. Seeing Su Chuanda finish signing, Su Jun cried excitedly, broke free from Su Shan's whine, and quickly ran upstairs. Ah! At the next moment, Su Jun stepped on nothing and fell to the ground, rolling down more than 10 stairs. Xiaochen. Upon seeing Su Jun fall down the stairs, Wu Hui, who had been walking toward Su Chen to try to keep her, immediately exclaimed in shock and rushed toward Su Jun, holding on to Su Jun who had fallen to the floor with heartache. Su Shanqin, Su Shanjiu, and others also nervously and anxiously surrounded Su Chen. Paralysis. No wonder I can't compete with this grandson. He's really cruel to me. Su Chen's mouth twitched slightly, and he could already see that Su Jun was intentionally falling down the stairs to attract everyone's attention. It was too fierce. Su Chuanda looked at Su Chen with a cold and disgusted expression on his face. A good home has made you look like this. You can leave now. Ms. Wu, you have raised your adopted son's appearance and expression to resemble Mr. Su so much. Su Chen casually picked up his backpack and looked thought-provoking at Wu Hui, who was holding Su Jun's heart and crying. You are really an excellent foster mother, he said. Wu Hui and others focused their attention on Su Jun, but did not take Su Chen's words to heart. Only as a doctor with strong logical reasoning, Su Shanqi felt that Su Chen had something to say and casually asked, what do you mean by that? Get lost. Without giving Su Chen a chance to speak, Su Chuanda's face turned pale and he shouted angrily, get out of the Su family right away and never let me see you again. The future is uncertain. Su Chen shrugged and turned to walk outward. Seeing Wu Hui's kindness towards childbirth, Su Chen vaguely reminded the other party. As for whether Wu Hui can comprehend the profound meaning behind it, it depends on her own creation. Chapter 8. Inheritance of Medical Ethics. Su Jun ran away from home. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Looking at the back of Su Chen, Wu Hui, who was holding Su Jun, tears streamed down her face. She still couldn't bear to let go of Su Jun, so she didn't get up to chase Su Chen. Mom, go and catch up with Brother Chen. Su Jun, who was lying in Wu Hui's arms, was full of pain on his face and reminded weakly, I am just an outsider. The person who should leave is me, and he is your own son. You're not an outsider, you're also my son, just like my own son. Wu Hui wiped away her tears and painfully arranged Su Jun's clothes, comforting her, I'm just on impulse. I'll come back to him later. Mom, you don't have to worry about me. Go chase after Brother Chen. Upon hearing these words, Su Jun felt a wave of anger in his heart, but his face appeared anxious and understanding. The sisters of the Su family looked at each other. Nobody expected such a big change today, so they were at a loss now. What are you chasing? At this moment, Su Chen shouted coldly, since that rebellious son has severed ties with us, none of you are allowed to go find him. It's easy to go from frugality to luxury, but it's difficult to go from luxury to frugality. I want to see if he's used to the luxurious lifestyle of the Su family and can still tolerate the lives of the lower class outside. Someone, tidy up the scene. First, take Xiao Wu and Xiao Jun back to their room, and then wash and tidy up properly. Su Chen shook off the spilled food on his body and turned to walk upstairs. Su Shanqin and the others immediately took action and helped Su Shanqi. Su Jun and Wu Hui left the restaurant, but no one paid attention to Su Chen. The male dormitory of the School of Traditional Chinese Medicine at Jiangnan Medical University. Su Chen sat at his desk, treating the wound on his forehead in front of the mirror. Although it's a bit painful, this injury just keeps me awake and sets a clear line with that family, which is worth it. Su Chen looked at himself in the mirror with a bandage wrapped around his head and smiled with relief. Although my fantasies about family have been shattered, I have finally regained my former self. It's great. At this moment, the phone placed aside for charging suddenly rang. Upon seeing that it was the call from the elder sister Su Shanqin, Su Chen refused to answer without hesitation and easily blacklisted all the contact information of the Su family. What he did today was not a reckless pursuit, but a determined determination to sever ties with the Su family. I was able to grow up as an orphan and was admitted to the medical university with good grades. Su Chen put down his phone and said firmly, without family, I can still live well in the future. In recent years, my energy has been spent on the Su family and that woman, which has really delayed a lot of my studies. I must focus on my studies now. Su Chen moved a thick stack of medical books on the table in front of him, but before he could open them, his phone rang again. I forgot who I blacked out. Su Chen impatiently picked up his phone and was stunned when he saw a call from someone named them.After. Su Chen stared at the caller ID foolishly, his eyes turning red unconsciously, and his fingers moving back and forth between the answer and reject buttons. I can even let go of my family relationship, and the rotten love is just a drop in the bucket. Su Chen finally pressed the button to refuse to answer, gritted his teeth and pulled them.After black before painfully closing his eyes. After taking a few deep breaths, Su Chen calmed down, turned off his phone, opened his book, and prepared to study. As the words of medical books came into view, Su Chen suddenly felt a headache and was about to crack, then entered an unknowingly mysterious state. Sitting on the chair, Su Chen had empty eyes and his hands flipped through the textbooks in front of him at lightning speed. After reading the book, a large number of profound medical traditions beyond the scope of the book flooded into Su Chen's mind, as if imprinted deep in Su Chen's soul, allowing him to learn without a teacher. After washing up properly and changing clothes, Wu Hui and her three daughters Su Shanqin, Su Shanqi, and Su Shanhua gathered in the living room to discuss matters related to Su Chen. Damn it, Su Chen not only hung up on my phone, but also blocked me. Su Shanqin put down her phone with a displeased expression and said, he really plays this game of hard to get. Xiao Chen really wants to sever ties with us. I will personally call him. Wu Hui, with red and swollen circles around her eyes, anxiously searched for her phone. Mom, just let him make trouble. Su Shanhua held Wu Hui's panicked hand and said, running away from home is all the tricks I've played since then. He'll be back in a few days. Moreover, if he maliciously wants to drive away Xiao Jun with this, then we cannot tolerate him. What if he really doesn't come back? Wu Hui muttered anxiously, I have been wandering outside for 19 years, and I cannot let him leave this family again. If he doesn't come back, he'll be pulled down. Is it difficult for us to still demand him to come back? Su Shanhua held a small mirror while applying makeup and sneered, our family used to be happy and harmonious. Since he returned, our family has never stopped. At the moment, he's leaving on his own, and I feel quite good about it. Xiao Jun is already sensitive. If he thinks that Su Chen, who has the Su family bloodline, has returned, we will no longer love him, and he will be very sad. Su Chen frowned and reminded, the most important thing is that Su Chen has had a bad character, has been lowly since childhood, and always wants to show off in front of us and compete with Xiao Jun for jealousy. Not to mention that Xiao Jun will be disgusted, even I don't appreciate his soft and obsequious appearance. Even if I set aside my long-standing sibling relationship with Xiao Jun and choose between Su Chen and Xiao Jun, I must still prefer Xiao Jun. Su Shanqi solemnly agreed, Xiao Jun is well-behaved, hard-working, and elegant, while Su Chen. I can be as annoyed as I see him. Actually, that's the point. Even if we set aside years of love and compare Su Chen, a wild child who grew up as an orphan, with Su Jun, who has been nurtured by wealthy culture and high-quality resources since childhood, most people will still prefer Su Jun. I don't care what you think, but I am Xiaoqin's biological mother. After the mother and son finally reunited, I can't watch him wander anymore. Wu Hui wiped away her tears and said firmly, I already owe a lot to Xiao Chen, and he even donated bone marrow to Xiao Wu. I can't. Does that mother mean to let Xiao Jun leave the Su family? Su Shanqin rubbed her eyebrows and interrupted Wu Hui's words with some helplessness. I didn't say that. Xiao Jun is my heartfelt flesh, and even if I die, I can't let Xiao Jun leave. Wu Hui quickly shook her head and said unwillingly, they are all my sons and should be able to coexist peacefully. I don't care, you can accompany me to find Xiaoqin now. Not good. When the three sisters of the Su family were confused and helpless, the servant of the Su family suddenly ran over with a letter and shouted in panic. Master Jun and Miss Six have run away from home. Chapter 9. The poisonous snake turns out to be a carefully designed murder. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. While others were washing and tidying up, Su Jun left a sincere letter, fully considering Su Chen's position from the perspective of maintaining family harmony, and then left the Su family with Su Shanjiu. Upon learning that Su Jun had run away from home, Wu Hui was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot, instantly leaving Su Chen behind. Su Shanqin and others were also in chaos, constantly calling Su Jun and Su Shanjiu, while becoming even more dissatisfied and angry with Su Chen. If it weren't for Su Chen being a demon, their beloved younger brother wouldn't have run away from home. Su Chuanda unquestionably ordered the use of all connections to comprehensively search for Su Jun, and stated that if Su Jun had any accidents, he would make Su Chen pay a painful price. Wu Hui and others tacitly support this, and if there is anything unexpected about Su Jun, they will never forgive Su Chen. Compared to the lack of attention when Su Chen left, Su Jun's departure caused a great stir in the Su family. That night, apart from Su Shanqi, everyone else in the Su family went crazy searching for Su Jun and Su Shanjiu in the city. Late at night, on the balcony of a furnished single apartment located near the bustling commercial district of Jiangqing City. Waste. I spend so much money on you every month, but you can't even handle a little thing well. Naked, Su Chen stood on the balcony, smoking a cigarette and cursing angrily, you haven't made any progress in seducing Su Chen's girlfriend yet. This time, you said the snake you brought was extremely poisonous and could definitely kill Su Chen. As a result, Su Chen not only returned safely, but also cut off ties with the Su family and led me to the army. What's the point of me asking you? Su Xiao, calm down. I don't know what's going on either. A voice of grievance came from the other side of the phone, puzzled and said, the toxicity of the intermediary pit viper ranks among the top 5 venomous snakes. If a person is bitten and not treated in time, they will undoubtedly die. You also said that Su Chen was indeed bitten by a snake, so theoretically he should have died. As for Su Chen's girlfriend, she is no longer interested in Su Chen. Give me some more time, I will definitely be able to handle it and give Su Chen a green hat. You'd better not let me down again, otherwise you'll just spit out all the money you've taken from me in its original form. Su Jun issued a stern warning. I understand. The person across from him asked with uncertainty, do I still need to find a chance to take action against Su Chen next? Let's hold our ground for now. After thinking for a moment, Su Jun squinted his eyes and said, although Su Chen did not die this time, he suddenly went crazy and took the initiative to sever ties with the Su family. If he can leave the Su family now, I am too lazy to deal with him anymore. Do I still want to continue with my excavation operation? Upon hearing these words, the opposite party suddenly became anxious. You can do it yourself. Su Jun gave a cold smile and joked, I heard that Su Chen's girlfriend is a flower. Are you willing to give up like this? Hee, those who know me, Su Xiaoye. A lewd man's laughter came from across, since that's the case, I'll just hold my ground for now. Wait for my command. Su Jun took a hard puff on his cigarette and then hung up the phone. As the person who was bitten by a snake, Su Chen did not realize that his sudden snake bite was not an accident, but a carefully planned murder by Su Jun. After returning home from Su Chen, Su Jun paid more attention to Su Chen's every move than anyone in the Su family, because he did not allow his long-term business to be threatened. Therefore, every year, the other members of the Su family do not know that Su Chen will go out on his birthday, but Su Jun is well aware of it. He also took advantage of this opportunity to assassinate Su Chen, but he did not expect that Su Chen not only did not die, but also changed his temperament when he returned and directly fell out with the Su family. Su Chen's abnormal behavior and the announcement of donating bone marrow to Su Shanshe made Su Jun feel threatened. Therefore, Su Jun would leave a letter and run away from home before others could react, with the aim of preventing Su Chen's conspiracy from succeeding. Su Jun's ability to win the favor of all members of the Su family in the past few years, and even to make everyone die for him even after the return of the true young master Su Chen, indicates that he is not an ordinary and brainless person. Su Jun not only schemed against Su Chen everywhere in the Su family, but also had arranged eyeliner around Su Chen long ago, and had investigated everything about Su Chen. Unexpectedly, even the venomous snake was unable to bite that scumbag to death, and he even forced the Su family to make a choice by severing ties. Su Jun squinted his eyes and looked into the distance, sneering, unfortunately, Su Chen, you're still far from fighting me. Now that I have run away from home, I want to see if my parents and sisters will still care about your severing of ties. Everything in the Su family can only be mine. Even if you are the Su family's biological son, you can't steal anything from me. Xiao Jun, smoking less is not good for your health. At this moment, Su Shanjiu, wrapped in a towel, walked out of the bathroom, wiping his wet hair while angrily reminding him. Okay, I got it. Su Jun quickly snuffed out the cigarette end, changed his previous cruel look to his usual innocent appearance, opened the French window and held Su Shanjiu up lazily. Sister 6, I'm very upset now, and I'm very angry. Let's vent our anger today. After returning to China, there are too few opportunities for us to spend the night alone, and Sixth Sister is also very popular. Su Shanjiu gave Su Jun a seductive glance, and then the two rolled together. The reason why Su Shanjiu loves and spoils Su Jun so much is not only because they grew up together since childhood, but more importantly, because they have developed a closer relationship. After graduating from junior high school, Su Jun and Su Shanjiu were sent abroad as exchange students by the Su family. The Su family originally wanted their siblings to take care of each other in a foreign land, but they didn't expect that shortly after going abroad, Su Shanjiu was tricked into going to bed by Su Jun under the pretext that they were not biological siblings. However, Su Shanjiu couldn't even dream that Su Jun, who seemed like a little sheep, was actually a hidden beast. She couldn't even imagine the true relationship between Su Jun and Su Chuanda. This also destined that Su Shanjiu will pay a painful price for today's actions in the future. The next morning, Su Chen, who was immersed in a mysterious state, woke up and had a large amount of profound medical knowledge in his mind, which was only a small part of the memories left by the old man for Su Chen. This is what the old immortal left me, it's so magical. Su Chen excitedly integrated the knowledge in his mind and flipped through the scattered books in front of him. The things that were originally difficult to understand in the books became as simple and easy to understand as elementary school knowledge. In this way, all the courses I missed before have been made up for. Su Chen danced excitedly and said, then I don't have to worry about failing this semester. Chapter 10. Your sister came to the orphanage to find you. Break up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At present, Su Chen still cannot understand how magical and precious the medical inheritance he has obtained is, and for the time being, it only stays at the level of not having to fail the examination. After calming down, Su Chen began to get entangled. Although Su Chen is certain that he has mastered a lot of medical skills and knowledge, at the end of the day, he is only a junior student and has not even found an internship unit. How to practice these things has become a difficult problem. Never mind, I can only combine theory with practice during my internship or wait for a few roommates to come back and test my medical skills on them. Immediately, Su Chen took out the wax-sealed letter left by the old immortal from his pocket. The front of the envelope reads, My brother Xinghua, dear, and a detailed address of Jiangqing City. The senior not only saved my life but also gave me great opportunities. I will definitely fulfill your last wish. Su Chen put away the letter, looked at the sky outside the window, and made a firm statement. Although Su Chen did not know what the old immortal's unfulfilled wish was, it must be related to this letter, so he must first deliver the letter to the recipient's hand. After washing up, Su Chen turned on his phone and prepared to deliver the message, but as soon as he turned it on, a phone call came in. Xiao Chen. I've called you several times and sent a bunch of messages. Why did you shut down? The phone was answered, and a gentle and anxious voice came through. Grandma Wu is really sorry, I turned off my phone yesterday to study. Su Chen responded apologetically and expressed concern, is there anything you need? Last night, a person claiming to be your sister came to the orphanage to find you. Grandma Wu asked with concern, did you have a conflict with your family? The people of the Su family. Upon hearing these words, Su Chen's face looked a bit unpleasant. Grandma Wu, I have severed ties with the Su family. Could you please send her away? I don't want to see her. Sigh. Grandma Wu sighed helplessly and said, I have told her that you are not in the orphanage, but she doesn't listen or communicate with me. She insists on seeing you and has been sitting at the door all night. Come back quickly. Okay, I'll go back right away. Su Chen responded, hung up the phone, and rushed out to the Silver Mirror Lake Orphanage, where he lived when he was a child. The orphanage is the only pure land left in Su Chen's heart and must not be trampled by the people of the Su family. As soon as Su Chen ran out of the dormitory building, he was stopped on his way. A tall and pure beauty wearing a white dress, with beautiful features and waist-length hair, and a sickly young man wearing navy blue sportswear, who was thin and 3 times shorter than the girl, appeared in front of Su Chen. This girl's name is Su Na, and she is Su Chen's girlfriend. Previously, the two lived together in an orphanage, relying on each other and falling in love over time, becoming a couple. Later, Su Na found her family and returned home, but the two still maintained a romantic relationship. Su Na is also a student of South China Medical University, and Su Chen applied to the university only for Su Na. It can be said that Su Na is more important in Su Chen's heart than those relatives of the Su family. Su Chen can lick the Su family like that, which can be imagined how good he would have been to Su Na before. However, after experiencing life and death, these are already past tense. Su Chen has not only given up on the Su family, but also on Su Na, because of the young man standing next to Su Na. This young man's name is Zhou Xiaolong, a friend Su Na made after returning to her family. Now that they have developed a best friend relationship, in Su Chen's eyes, Zhou Xiaolong is a green arrow man, a male version of a green tea bitch. Su Chen, who was impatient in his heart, glanced at the two people blocking the way and was too lazy to talk nonsense and walked away towards the outside of the school. Su Chen, please stop me. I didn't expect Su Chen to be so impolite, so Su Na immediately stepped forward and grabbed Su Chen's arm. She burst out, "Little dragon was kind enough to celebrate your birthday with me, but you hurt him and lied to me that you were bitten by a snake. You wanted to stop me from taking little dragon to the hospital. You're so shameless. If you don't apologize to Xiaolong and apologize, even if you dare to hang up my phone and blackmail me, do you still think about it? Nana, don't be angry. He probably didn't mean to push me down. I forgave him." Before Su Chen could respond, Zhou Xiaolong immediately stepped forward and said empathetically, "You must not cause any conflicts over my matter. Su Chen, don't be so stingy either. Nana and I are just innocent friends, and there is absolutely nothing like what you think." Upon hearing Zhou Xiaolong's words, Su Chen felt almost nauseous and about to vomit. Every year on his birthday, Su Chen would leave the Su family and spend it with Su Na, but this year Su Na insisted on taking Zhou Xiaolong with her. During the outing, Zhou Xiaolong took advantage of Su Na's lack of attention and suddenly rushed to Su Chen's side, falling to the ground. When Su Na came forward to help, Zhou Xiaolong pretended to be hypocritical and said that Su Chen did not intentionally push him down, which immediately made Su Na believe that Su Chen was dissatisfied with Zhou Xiaolong's companion and pushed him down and injured him. Su Na scolded Su Chen and drove Zhou Xiaolong to the hospital, leaving Su Chen alone in the wilderness. Afterwards, Su Chen was bitten by a venomous snake and called to plead with Su Na to come back and save himself. Not only did Ku Xuana not come back to save Su Chen, but she also scolded him severely, which led to the later events. "Look at how big little dragon is." Upon hearing Zhou Xiaolong say he had forgiven Su Chen, Su Na became even more angry and pointed at Su Chen, scolding him, "Look at you again, you have a small belly and chicken intestines, you don't seem like a man." Right, I'm not a man, I'm not worthy of you." Having experienced life and death and seeing through everything, Su Chen was too lazy to defend himself, but still couldn't help but ask, "Su Na, I only ask you one question. I am your boyfriend, why don't you trust me instead of an outsider?" "Xiaolong is not an outsider, he is my best friend." Su Na responded without hesitation, "You said before that you were bitten by a venomous snake, but now you are bouncing around, which means you are lying." "That's right if I don't believe it." "Great. The relationship between childhood sweethearts for over a decade cannot compare to this so-called male best friend." Su Chen nodded and glanced at Zhou Xiaolong, who was full of anxiety and concern, before looking at Su Na and saying, "Then I wish your best friend a happy ending." "What do you mean, you?" Seeing that Su Chen did not please and plead for forgiveness like before, Su Na was very angry and said, "You should apologize to Xiaolong immediately, otherwise I will never forgive you this time. I don't need your forgiveness anymore." Su Chen shook off Su Na's hand and shouted coldly, "Break up." Su Chen was worried about the situation at the orphanage and didn't have the heart to argue with Su Na. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly walked towards the distance. Due to being dependent on each other since childhood, Su Chen cherished the relationship between him and Su Na very much before. He devoted himself wholeheartedly and meticulously to her. Even though Zhou Xiaolong had been interfering with her, Su Chen still tried his best to accommodate and tolerate Su Na. But this time Su Na's behavior of disregarding Su Chen's life and death for Zhou Xiaolong completely hurt Su Chen's heart. Sorrow is greater than death of heart. Now that Su Chen has cut off his family ties, he naturally won't sink into so-called love anymore. He might as well just break up.